So this is just a short video to give you the past tense, but only the past tense of singular first person, in other words, I, right? So I said that the default form of a verb is the third person past tense. So you get a pa'al verb like shamar, right? And you fill in the vowels, the and the and that gives you your past tense he guarded. And that's the default form for not only Strong's, but pretty much universal. If you're discussing pa'al verbs, they're always going to be in the third person past tense. That's the default form, and it's going to be shamar, right? And that matches, the vowel matches the pa'al, right? Because the pa'al has a kamatz and a patak vowel, right? So when you do pa'al, and it's an actual word in the scripture, you do kamatz and a patak, right? So the Hebrew word pa'al, use those same vowels and you get your past tense third person, he guarded, masculine, right? He guarded. So if you want to go do I guarded, you take that same form as he guarded, but you're going to make just a little change to it. So you take shamar, right? But on the last consonant, you're going to put a shiva, and then you're going to add a tav and a yod, and you get that harik vowel, right? So if you're sounding that out, you would get shamarti, right? Shamarti. Shamarti. And that would be the past tense I guarded. So now let's move on to another verb. Do the same thing. If you take lamad, again, this is to study. This is the he studied, third person masculine singular. So he studied, right? And you simply take the root of the word to obtain the past tense, the default he studied, right? So you take your lamed, your mem, and your dalet, and you fill in your kamatz and your patak, same vowels as the pa'al, and that gives you your lamad, which means he studied. Now if I want to do I studied, follow the same pattern, right? So you take your root, and you take this, the vowels of pa'al, it's your starting point, but with your third consonant, right? This is a dalet. You're going to do a shiva. Then you're going to do your tav and your yod. Same with shamar, with your hirik vowel. So this is your ending for the past tense, first person singular, I studied. Same for masculine and feminine, right? When you do ani, it's the same, whether you're masculine or feminine. So you get lamati, except the shiva here, that's the troublesome part. Sometimes the shiva is silent, and sometimes it's not, so you just have to learn which ones are and which ones aren't. So if I'm sounding this out, you get lamadeti, 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 right? See, the shiva in this case is not silent, it's that little short S sound. So in shamar it was silent, the shiva was silent. In lamad, the shiva has a sound. So you just have to memorize which ones have a sound and which ones are silent. So let's do have, excuse me, that's the present tense, masculine singular, so I should say ahav, right? If we want to do our default form that I've been talking about, right? So you take the aleph, the hey, and the vet, put in your pa'al vowels, and that gives you he loved, right? Pa'al. It's a pa'al verb. So you get ahav. Ahav is he loved. Now what if I want to say I loved, past tense? So we're going to follow the same pattern we've been following for these verbs, right? So you take your root, three-letter root, take your three letters here, aleph, hey, vet, put my pa'al vowels in there, and then put a shiva under my final consonant, add my tav, my harik vowel, and my yod, which gives you, right, this last part gives you that T sound on the end, your T, right? So you have ahavti, ahavti. Now in this case, the shiva is silent. And I don't know if you've heard this before, this ahavti, but you'll find that in the scripture. Maybe you've heard that in some music and some Hebrew songs. You might have heard ahavti. Anyway, that's I loved, right? So let's do avad, to work. And you get your root with your pa'al vowels in there. So you get an ayin and a vet, right? And a dalet. So avad, he worked. So what if I want I worked? First person, singular, but doesn't matter whether it's male or female in this case. So we're just breaking it down into pieces for you. So you can take it one piece at a time. So here's your pa'al verb, first person singular, I worked, right? And this one would be avad deti. So you're getting a shiva that has a sound there. Let me show you that in the Hebrew. So remember, you take your three-letter root, put your pa'al vowels in it, a shiva, your ending for first person past tense, which is the T. So you get avadeti, avadati. That's your I worked. Okay, let's do one more vowel. I'm just giving you an overview here so you can understand what the first person singular past tense looks like. And if you know the basic default of he studied, he worked, he guarded, right? That Strong's default form. Here's another one. It's azar, which is to help. It's where we get the word ezer, as in ezer kenegdo. So this is the verb azar, past tense. This would mean he helped, right? So if you take your default form of your pa'al verbs, the past tense he helped out of Strong's, and what that would look like, the root is an ayin, a zayin, and a resh. So you put your pa'al verbs in, or vowels in there, and you get azar, which means he helped. So if you take that basic form, the default of Strong's and other Bible scholars use a lot, you get, I'm going to say I helped. So what do? I put a shiva under the final consonant of the root, and I add my tav, my harik and my yod. So you know it's going to be azarti, right? Azarti. And the only question you have is, well, is the shiva silent or is it not? And in this word, it's silent. So you get azarti. So they're going to be silent or it's going to be that short E sound. And what I'm suggesting is if you look on pealim.com, it conjugates verbs for you. You'll be able to see in which cases the shiva is silent or which case it's not. And it's easier usually just to do a Google search. So if you do a Google search of Hebrew word azar conjugated, you'll find the pealim.com as one of your results. So there you go. There's a short video on the I worked, I guarded, I studied, the first person singular past tense of a pa'al verb.